Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Frank. I want to share an honest truth right from the outset. Being a stepfather can often feel like a thankless endeavor. This may sound blunt, but for those who have experienced it, the sentiment resonates deeply. You invest your time, energy, finances, and affection, yet sometimes the returns can be disappointing. You attempt to fill a void left by someone else, believing that love and stability will suffice, but there are moments when that isn't enough. I reached this realization one Christmas night while seated at the dinner table, surrounded by family. It was in that moment that I stood up and made decisions that would astonish everyone present. When I first met Sophia, who would later become my wife, I was drawn to her ambition. At that time, I had no reason to suspect that she was concealing anything. She appeared to be a single, independent woman navigating life like the rest of us. As we began to date and get to know one another, I found myself falling for her in ways that words could scarcely capture. However, what I didn't know then was that Sophia was already a mother. She had a 4-year-old daughter named Carrera living with her grandparents in another city. Sophia didn't mention her daughter initially, and when I eventually learned the truth, I was understandably taken aback. While she visited Carrera when she could, her daughter wasn't part of her everyday life at that point. One evening, as we discussed our pasts, Sophia revealed that she had become pregnant in her late teens. The father, someone she had deeply loved, had denied paternity when she informed him of the pregnancy, which devastated her. Although he eventually accepted his role as a father, Sophia had witnessed enough turmoil to know he wouldn't be a responsible parent. She was determined to shield her daughter from that influence. As I listened to her story, I didn't view her as a woman burdened by her past. Instead, I saw her as a survivor. Her narrative stirred something profound within me, not only for her but also for Carrera. That night, I expressed to Sophia that if we were to take our relationship seriously, I would fully embrace the role of a father figure for Carrera as well. Although I didn't completely grasp the implications of welcoming someone else's child into my life, I chose to do so because I loved Sophia and believed that a child with a challenging background deserved a nurturing environment. I accepted both her and Carrera into my heart, though I was unaware of the eventual challenges that awaited us. After Sophia and I married, I requested that Carrera come live with us permanently. After some contemplation, she agreed, and we welcomed Carrera into our home. Those initial days were filled with joy. Carrera was our only child at that time, and I wholeheartedly dedicated myself to fatherhood. Despite not sharing her bloodline, that never influenced my commitment. From day one, I treated her as if she were my own, wanting her to feel safe, cherished, and chosen. 2 years later, Sophia and I welcomed another daughter, a younger sister to Carrera. You might think this would alter our family dynamics, but I made a deliberate choice to ensure that both girls would receive equal love from me. Be it birthdays, bedtime stories, school events, or family gatherings, I worked hard to ensure that Carrera never felt like she was being overshadowed or replaced. To me, they were both my daughters. Although we weren't affluent, we were comfortable enough, and I understood the swift passage of time. College was approaching faster than one might anticipate, and tuition costs were on the rise. The last thing I wanted was for either of my daughters to begin their adult lives encumbered by debt due to a lack of foresight. This awareness prompted me to create college funds for both girls. Without informing Sophia, I established 2 separate accounts, one for Carrera and one for my biological daughter. Each month, I contributed the same amount to both funds, making it a priority to save. As Carrera entered her teenage years, I noticed a shift in her attitude. She was no longer the little girl who used to greet me at the door or snuggle next to me during movie nights. I initially attributed her behavior to typical teenage angst, continually reminding her that I was still there for her. However, I soon discovered the underlying cause. She had been in contact with her biological father. I learned this through indirect means, and when I confronted Sophia, she confirmed it. Carrera's father had somehow obtained her contact information and expressed a desire to reconnect with her. When I questioned why I hadn't been informed, Sophia explained that she felt it wasn't her place to deny him access, believing it might benefit Carrera to know him. That rationale left me feeling sidelined, and the hurt was profound, but I chose not to argue. From that point on, Carrera seemed emotionally distant. I didn't want to be the type of person who overreacted or took things too personally, so I continued to show her love and support. I remained attentive to her needs, helped her with schoolwork, and ensured she had access to a tutor. I treated her no differently than I treated my younger daughter, holding on to the hope that eventually, she would recognize the love I had extended to her all those years ago, long before she understood what Dad truly meant. For Carrera's 17th birthday, I spent weeks contemplating the perfect gift. After much deliberation, I settled on a brand new Honda Civic. While it wasn't the flashiest vehicle, it was reliable, economical, and safe, ideal for a teenager preparing for college. I selected an elegant silver color, prepaid the insurance, and ensured her name was properly registered. However, the moment she laid eyes on the car, her expression fell. With no gratitude, she simply stared at me, unimpressed, and asked, "Where's the Benz?" Initially I thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. Months prior, she had mentioned a Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 as her dream car, but I never assumed she expected me to purchase such a luxury vehicle at 17. I calmly explained that a Mercedes was not only expensive to buy but also costly to maintain and insure. In contrast, the Civic was known for its reliability and would serve her well for years without draining our finances. I even mentioned that I had personally test-driven it to ensure it was comfortable and fuel-efficient. Yet none of my reasoning seemed to matter to her. From that moment on, she held on to that disappointment like a grudge, and no matter what I did afterward, it always circled back to that car. Concerned, I brought this up to Sophia, hoping she would recognize the growing disrespect. I shared how deeply hurt I was by Carrera's reaction. Sophia dismissed my feelings, attributing it to typical teenage behavior and advising me not to worry. However, it did worry me. Despite my continued efforts to provide for her, Carrera remained resentful. As she began staying out late, I attempted to address my concerns, reminding her of the importance of letting us know where she was for her safety. Instead of understanding, she accused me of trying to control her life and walked away. On another occasion, I expressed my concern about her hanging out with a group of boys known for their questionable reputations. I cautioned her to be wary of their intentions. In response, she retorted, "Why do you even care? You're not even my real father." That statement struck me deeply, as if it stripped away all the memories we had shared. The situation escalated one night when she lied about her whereabouts and returned home well past midnight. When I confronted her, she looked me directly in the eye and said, "Even my real father doesn't act like you do. You're trying too hard for a stepfather." Those words shattered something within me. In that moment, I felt like just a stepfather who had overextended himself, and Sophia remained silent, offering no defense. Her inaction spoke volumes, marking the first time I realized I was fighting for a family alone. Time passed swiftly, and Carrera eventually left for college. Despite the tumultuous history, I held on to the hope that distance might provide her with perspective. My feelings for her didn't diminish simply because she acted as if I didn't matter. That's not in my nature. When Christmas arrived and she returned home for the holidays, I saw it as a chance to bridge the gap. Recalling that she had once mentioned a designer handbag, I tracked it down, purchased it, and wrapped it with care. In addition to the bag, I wrote her a heartfelt card, signing it "Dad," because despite everything, I still wanted to be that for her. I believed this small gesture might reignite something positive, but I was mistaken. The holiday dinner began like any other, with great food and a relaxed atmosphere, and for a brief moment, it felt as though things were back to normal. We shared laughter and passed dishes around the table, reminiscent of simpler times. Then Sophia's younger sister smiled and remarked, "These girls are fortunate to have such a great dad." To my astonishment, Carrera responded with a loud, dismissive snort, barely glancing up from her plate. She then declared, "Some people aren't worth calling dad." The room fell silent, and I felt a crushing weight in my chest, as if a knife had been plunged between my ribs. Sophia lowered her gaze, clearly wishing to disappear, while our younger daughter looked back and forth, confused. In that moment, I grasped the painful truth. All the effort I had poured into being a father figure for Carrera had meant nothing to her. I simply smiled, rose from the table, retrieved the gift I had bought her, and tucked it under my arm. Looking her in the eye, I calmly stated, "Don't touch any of the gifts I've given you over the years, including the car." I added, "And I've just cancelled your college fund. Good luck," before turning away. She believed I was bluffing, but I wasn't. That night, following the explosive Christmas dinner, I logged into Carrera's college fund and redirected every $120,000 into the account for my younger daughter. Afterward, I blocked Carrera on all platforms. This wasn't an act of pettiness. Rather, I felt I had nothing left to say. If she needed answers, she could speak to her mother. I made that decision with clarity. Sometimes silence speaks volumes. The next morning, I awoke to find that she had packed her belongings and left for her biological father's house. I was informed that she had plenty to say, accusing me of being controlling, manipulative, and overreaching in my role. She didn't merely burn the bridge. She attempted to obliterate it on her way out. I chose not to respond. The part of me that once worried and cared had gone silent. Sophia remained quiet for several days, and I sensed the tension in the house. Eventually, she voiced her concerns, attempting to guilt me into reconsidering my stance. "You can't give up on her," she implored. I met her gaze and calmly replied, "She gave up on me first." I finally heard her loud and clear. Sophia persisted, questioning how I could take such drastic measures and what example I was setting. I interrupted her, asking, "Do you want to join her? I've noticed you remain silent when you should